Hello fashion enthusiasts, welcome back to Ivana's Draft. Today I'll be showing you guys how to sew a seamless basic bodice and also show you guys the proper way of how to attach a lining. With the picture I'm displaying on the screen, this is the end result of what we are going to achieve after the whole process, okay? So before we get right into this video, please guys do well to like, share, subscribe to this channel. So let's get started guys. Okay guys, we have our basic bodies here. This is our basic bodies from the front to the back. Okay, now the first thing we do is to cut out. We're going to cut it out with our scissors. Please, now there are two types of scissors, which is the paper scissors and also the fabric scissors. Please don't use these two scissors for the same thing, okay? So I'll be cutting it out carefully, okay, to avoid errors like so. Then I go over to the front bodies and cut out also. Now, as you can see, we have our back bodies and also our front bodies. So let's go and cut this out. Okay, here on the table, we have our Ankara material of 3 yards and our hairstay. Some tailors prefer paper stay, but I prefer hairstay. It gives stability to the clothes. We have our lining, our paper scissors and our fabric scissors, our pins, our chalk, and thread. Please always use a thread that matches the background of your material, our original zip, my rulers, and our patterns. Now, the next thing to do is to cut our pattern on our fabric, also on our lining and hairstay, okay? So I'll spread my material out now. Always make sure you identify the right and wrong side of the material before you do anything. Note that the back is cotton fold. This is the back side, and these are two right sides facing each other. Now, the pattern is going to be placed on the back side of the material, okay? Now, the next step is to take our allowance on the shoulder 0.5, neck 0.5, armhole 0.5 inch, and the side 1 inch, and the bottom 1 inch, okay? So let's pin this down together using our pins. We'll pin all round, okay? Now, please note when we're drafting on paper, we make use of cms, okay? But when we're adding allowance to our fabric, we make use of inches. Paper cm, then taking out my allowances, we make use of inches, okay? So I'm going to place my tape rule and mark out 0.5 allowance on the armhole. Now, in case you don't know 0.5, 0.5 is this first line on our tape rule, okay? So I'll be chalking it down all round, chalking 0.5 all around the armhole and also the neck, on the shoulder, sorry, 0.5 allowance. Using my ruler, straighten that out. I also go to my neckline, 0.5 inches allowance. Okay, then I take my curve ruler to curve it out. I also curve out my armhole too. Then for my sides, 1 inch. Okay, so I'll chalk it down like so. Then use my ruler to straighten up the lines. Then also on the bottom part of the fabric as a hem, I'm also going to use 1 inch allowance and straighten it out with my ruler. Please remember 1 inch on the bottom or hemline, okay? Then we take 1 inch on the side, 0.5 here, 0.5 there, and then we'll use our fabric scissors to cut out. Please ensure you look closely for any errors before you cut out, okay? Now we are done cutting. Please, the same way we cut on our material, the same way we are going to cut on our lining, exactly the same way. Before I cut out my lining, I'm going to be transferring my waist dart and my shoulder dart onto my fabric, okay? We're making use of pins. There's actually a tool for that, but I can't remember the name, so make use of what we have, which is pins, okay? Now I'm going to be taking out my pins, which is office pin. Okay, now note these two lines are our shoulder dart. Okay, ignore the dotted line. I'll puncture my pin into the line and make sure it comes out from the other side of the fabric. Also do the same to this side, and I'll also do the same to the waist dart. Okay, now I flip over. I know you guys can see it, but I can feel my pins already out from the other side of the fabric. Okay, now I'm going to be tracing out this point using my ruler. I'm going to mark out with a chalk, creating a point to make it easier for me. Now then I mark out with my ruler. Okay. So I've drawn out my darts. I will take off the pin now. And the next thing to do is to cut out the lining. So I'm going to placing my front bodice and pattern, okay, on the lining. Now the same way we cut on the material, the same way we cut on the lining. Our pins to the rescue, of course. So I'm going to pin this down all around. Now there is no need to draw out allowances on the lining because allowances has already been taken out on the main fabric. So we just cut out, okay? Please always cut gently to avoid mistakes or cutting into the fabric, okay? Now we are done cutting out the lining, okay? We're going to be transferring the dart from our pattern onto the lining, okay? Using the usual methods, our pins. Please, while transferring that, ignore this dotted line. Shoulder dart are these two lines over here. So we go ahead and puncture our pins into these lines. Okay, so it can come out from the other side of the lining. We do the same to the point D and also the waist dart. Okay. Okay, after we are done pinning down, I'm going to turn it over. As you can see, I can feel my pins and I'll get my chalk to create points so it can make it easier for me to locate my lines. So I take my ruler and I roll out the darts like so. Now we are done transferring our darts. The next thing to do now is to cut on the hairstay. Lay it out and place my pattern over it and just cut out. Okay, now over here there's no measurement or dart needed. You just cut out, okay, to the shape of whatever you're cutting out. Now this method of cutting hairstay prevents or saves me from wasting hairstay. Now some people prefer just placing it on the fabric or lining and just ironing it out, but I prefer cutting it to the exact shape of whatever I cut out of my fabric. Okay, so it's your choice depending on what you prefer. Okay, now I'm done cutting it out. So as you can see, I've cut out on my fabric, my lining, and also my hairstay. Okay, so the next thing to do is to take off my pins to separate all the fabric. Now I've separated everything. Okay, here we have our hairstay, here we have our lining. Okay, as you can see, our lining, our darts and everything is there. Now we have our fabric, of course. Okay, if you notice, one side has that, the other side doesn't have that. So how do we transfer it? We use our normal pin method as usual. Okay, so I fold it up and take my pins and place on the lines, making sure it's coming out on the other side of the fabric. Okay, so I also do the same for the waist dart. When I'm done, I flip over and draw out with my ruler. So this is my back body. It's the same way we cut on the front, the same way we do here. But the front is cut out on fold, while here is cut out in two separate fabrics. Okay. Now I've cut out my lining, I've cut out my fabric, also my hairstay. I've transferred the dart also. So please note the back is cut into two separate pieces, okay? Unlike the front that is cut on fold. So the same thing is also done on the back lining, okay? These are cut into two separate pieces. Okay, so we go over to the front. I'll be ironing out my hairstay onto my fabric so it can stick to it. Now, hairstay gives this stability to your clothes. It makes your clothes have this thick feeling. Okay, as you can see, it's now sticked onto my fabric and also gives this fitting whenever you sew your clothes. Okay, now we also do the same to the back bodies. Okay, ironing out my hairstay on my back bodies. This is one part. Okay, as you can see, it has stuck to my fabric. I've also ironed out the other side of the back. Okay, now the next thing to do is to hold our waist dart and our shoulder dart, please. It's very important. Now I go over to my sewing machine to hold this together. Okay, now let's go. So placing my fabric on my sewing machine, I'm going to sew like so. Okay, just follow the shape of the dart. That's all. Now we do the same for our lining. Please, if you notice, no hairstay was ironed on our lining. Okay, we just hold the darts like that. Now I'm done. I don't know if you can see the shape. The bust part is already protruded out. Now this is the back. You see how neatly it was sewn. Okay, make sure you hold your darts neatly. Also my back, I've held my darts at the back, my waist and shoulder darts. Okay, what do we do next is to iron. Please always iron. Okay, it will always make your work neater. You are seeing now the essence of ironing makes it neater. Now the next thing to do is to attach our zip. Okay guys, I'm done attaching my zip. Don't worry guys, there'll be a whole video of how to attach zip. So the next thing is to join the front and back on the shoulders. Okay, I'm going to right sides facing each other and I'm going to stitch on just the shoulders. I'm also going to do the same to the lining, stitch the shoulders together. Okay guys, as you can see, I'm done joining the shoulders together. I'm also done joining the shoulders of the lining from the front to the back. I'll be laying my lining on my fabric front side facing each other. Okay, the next thing to do is to sew the armhole and also the neckline with 0.5 inch allowance. Okay, so I'm going to take it to my machine now to sew round. Okay, now I'm done sewing the neckline and the armhole with 0.5 inch. As you can see, again, front side facing front side. Okay, please, whenever you're sewing your armhole, always leave out 1 inch. Okay, whenever you're sewing your armhole, always leave out 1 inch. So I'll be taking my scissors to notch. Notching helps to make the clothes relax. Okay, when you turn it over to the front. So I'll be notching the armhole like so, and I'll be notching the neckline. Please don't notch beyond the seam lines. Okay, so I'm going to be turning it to the right side. So what we'll do is that we'll put our hands in and drag out one part like so, put and drag out the other side like so. So as you can see, it's now at the front side, at the right side of the garment we're creating. Now if I turn the back over for you guys, you won't see any seam lines at all, you won't see any thread. Okay, so I'll go over and iron it so it can lay flat. Okay, so now I'm done ironing. You can see my armhole is covered, my neckline is also covered. So next thing now to do is to sew the sides. Remember the 1 inch I told you guys to keep whenever sewing the armhole. It helps for easy joining of the sides together. Okay, so now how to join the sides is that you pick up one side of the fabric from the front and the other side of the fabric from the back, front side facing each other. Also do the same to the lining and stitch with 1 inch allowance. Okay, now we do the same to the other side, right side facing right sides. Okay, from the fabric to the lining, and we'll sew with our 1 inch allowance we kept. Okay, now I'm done stitching. As you can see, I'm done stitching with 1 inch allowance. I'm going to be turning over to the right side. So now there you have it. Our neckline, armhole and sides are joined together. Now the next thing we do is to turn the zip. Yeah, to attach the lining to the zip. Now for now only the fabric has been attached to the zip. We have to attach the lining also to the zip. How do we do that? Okay, so you're going to put the zip that is already sewn on the fabric already, okay, in between the lining and the fabric that it is sewn on. Okay, you're going to place it like this and sew down and just sew down. Okay, so when we turn over, we'll see that all every places like the armhole, neck, zip side has already been attached to the lining. Okay, so I'm going to zip it now and show you guys what I'm talking about. And we can't even see the seam lines at all now, except the only part now where we have to turn is our hemline. Yes, it has to be turned too. How do we do that? Please guys, always remember right sides facing each other. Okay, so I'm going to put my right side of my lining facing my fabric, and sew with 1 inch allowance. Okay, so right here I'm done sewing. Okay, so our hemline is secured inside. Okay, I'm going to open it up now. As you can see, no seam or thread can be seen. Okay, they're all sewn inside. Now I this is the perfect way of how to turn your lining. Look at this neatness, and guys, please always remember to iron your work down. Okay, we've come to the end of this video. Please do well to like, share, subscribe to my channel, and see you soon guys. Bye.